sorry, we kind of cut out there, but on to video 2. So I was just explaining that the answer to that one was 18. Okay, so we'll move on to question 13 now. So this one says expand and simplify. So expand just means get rid of the bracket, and then simplify just means collecting all the terms that are similar. Okay, so when we expand, we take the number on the outside and we multiply it by whatever is on the inside of the brackets. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is 3 times 4a. So 3 lots of 4a would be 12a. Then I want 3 lots of minus 5b. So I've got a positive and a negative, so that makes a negative. So that means I'm left with minus 15b. Then I've still got to do it on this side as well. So I've got 2 times 2a, so I would be plus 4a. And then I've got 2 times minus 5b. Okay, so 2 times minus 5 is minus 10. And then we've got our b, okay? So now I've expanded, I've done the first part of the question, but I've got to simplify. So I'm going to collect my like terms, okay? So I've got 12a's plus 4a's. So that means overall I've got 16a's. But then I've got minus 15b's, and I'm going to take away another 10b's from that, which puts me all the way down to minus 25b. Okay, so our final answer should be 16a minus 25b. On to the next one then. So again, we're expanding and we're simplifying. So you've got to do the outside number times by whatever is inside the brackets. Okay, so 2 times 2a. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then we've got the a. 2 times 2 is 4 again, but this time they're b's, so I've got 4a plus 4b. Now I've got minus 3 times positive a, so that would be minus 3a. And then I've got minus 3 times positive 3b, so I would have minus 9b, okay? So now we've got to collect our like terms, so I've got 4a minus 3a, so that just leaves me with a. We don't have to write the 1 in front of it. Then I've got 4b minus 9b. So I've got 4b and I take away 9b. That leaves me with minus 5b. So our final answer should be a minus 5b. Okay? Okay, so up next we've got some multiplication, but we've got a decimal point in there. So the way I always like to do these is to make them into whole numbers. So I'm going to times this side by 10, which would make that 98. Now, whatever you times it by in the first place, you can do one side by 10, one side by 100, but you've got to remember to divide it by the same amount eventually, at the end, okay, when you've got the answer. So now that I've got 23 times 98, I can just do that sum nice and easy. So 8 times 3 would be 24, written like this. 8 times 2 would be 16, plus the 2 is 18. And then I do the same for the next one. So we put our 0, because we're working in the tens column. So now we've got 9 times 3 is 27, so we'd write it like that. And then 9 times 2 is 18, plus the 2 is 20. So now, we're getting a bit long here, but we just have to add those together. So we've got 0 plus 4 is 4, 7 plus 8 is 15. 0 plus 1 is 1, plus the 1 there is 2, and then we've got another 2 here. Okay, so we've got 2,254. That's not the answer because we times 9.8 by 10. So we've now got to divide it by 10, okay? So if we take 2,254 and we divide by 10, we just take it back 1 point, and then our final answer is 225.4 because we've just divided it by 10 there, okay? Sorry about the messy lines. Okay, so for this one, I think the easiest way to do it again, so if we're dividing by fractions, or dividing by any number, then actually we can kind of use the same trick. We just have to do the same thing to both sides, okay? So if I divide both sides, it's really beginning to annoy me. If I divide both sides by 10, so divide by 10 on both sides, I would get 180 divided by 2, wouldn't I? Okay, so now that's a much easier sum. I've just got to halve 180, which would be 90. And that's actually my final answer, because as long as I do the same thing to both sides, I'll always get the same answer. So actually 18 divided by 0.2 is also 90. Or I could go up. I could do 18,000 divided by 200, and that would also equal 90. So when you are dividing, as I said, you can times or divide by 10, 100, whatever. As long as you do the same to both sides, you always get the same answer. Okay, so on to some more BIDMAS. Okay, so BIDMAS here. So brackets. To work this out, we've got to do our brackets first, okay? So 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay, now all I've got left is...
Hello everyone.
So now all I have left is my multiplication, because I don't have any indices. So I can just do 7 times the 5, which would equal 35. Okay, so that's my final answer there. Okay, on to the next one. So here we've got multiplication and we've got addition. So according to BIDMAS, we do our multiplication first. So 3 times 4 is 12. And then all we've got left is our addition. So we would add the 5, which would equal 17. Okay, so the next question says 3/5 of 45. So there's 2 ways of doing this. So we can either convert 3/5 to a fraction, not a fraction, 3/5 to a decimal. So if we were to convert 3/5 to a decimal, we would get 0.6. And then we could just times the 0.6 by 45, and that would give us the answer of 27. Alternatively, what we could do is take the 45 and then divide it into 5 parts, because we know we want 3 lots of the 5 parts. So if we did 45 and we divided it by 5, we would get 9. So now I know that 1 part is worth 9, but I want 3 of them. I would do 9 times the 3, and that would also equal 27. Okay? So we can do the same thing for the last question. So we could either, this one's probably, to be fair, easier to do the second way, because obviously 2/3 is a recurring decimal, which makes things a little bit more difficult on the calculator. So if we were instead to do 51 and divide it by 3, we would get 17. And then, now I know that 1 part is worth 17, I know that I want 2 parts, so I could just do 17 times the 2, which would equal 34. Okay, so now I know that 34 is 2/3 of 51. Okay, so make sure you've marked yourself out of 20 and you've corrected any that weren't quite right. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and your next maths work will be set on Monday.